Hey Campbell and Bone Squad, in the last video, the video that I uploaded right before this one, we started reading this book called 10, and we are going to be reading more of it now. We're going to be starting with chapter 5 because that's where we left off last time, so let's begin. Chapter 5. Ben's cute, Meg said as she unzipped her backpack. Minnie shrugged. Yeah, he's okay. Just okay. That's what I said. So much for Minnie's good mood. I don't know. It seems like you were kind of into him, and it was really sweet the way he helped you across the beach and up to the house. I guess. Meg frowned. Minnie was being intentionally pissy. Meg knew dang well that she had already set her sights on Ben. Tall, blue eyes, hair as blonde as yours. What's not to like? Tons. Minnie opened the wardrobe and examined the closet space. Like, he dyes his hair for starters. His eyebrows are black. Oh, leave it to Minnie to notice something like that. Meg was clueless. I just thought you guys were cute together. Minnie spun around. What are you trying to pawn me off? What are you what are you trying to pawn me off on someone before you abandon me in September? Meg was struck, momentarily speechless. She totally didn't see that one coming. Well, aren't you? Minnie asked. What are you talking about? You're trying to make me someone else's problem before you leave me. I'm not leaving you. I'm going to college. These arguments were starting to make them sound like a married couple on the verge of divorce. You could do that here. The creative writing program at UW didn't accept me, Meg lied. You know that. Minnie opened her mouth to say something, then apparently thought better of it. She snapped her jaw shut and turned abruptly away. Meg returned to unpacking. Did Minnie actually know that that the closest college Meg applied to was over 1,000 miles away? Impossible. The only person who knew for sure where Meg had applied was her mom, who wrote the application checks. And if there was one person on the planet who wanted to make sure Meg went to school far away from her clingy best friend, it was Meg's mom. You and TJ seem pretty buddy-buddy, Minnie said out of the blue. So that's what was bothering her? Meg had been dreading this ever since TJ walked her up to the house from the dock. She'd hoped that the attention Minnie was getting from Ben would distract her from what she wasn't getting from TJ. No such luck. Minnie, don't start. What? Minnie pulled a strapless dress out of her wheelie bag and laid it out on her bed. I was just voicing an observation. Meg grabbed some t-shirts and a pair of jeans from her backpack and shoved them in a drawer, leaving her journal and laptop at the bottom of the bag. I'm not interested in TJ. Could have fooled me. Minnie's voice had a sing-song quality, but Meg wasn't buying it. Minnie was hurt by TJ's snub and was lashing out. Seemed like you guys were flirting pretty hardcore. They hadn't had this conversation since homecoming, both of them preferring to let the whole incident lie untouched, unresolved, until now. We're just friends, Meg said. Friends don't ask friends to the homecoming dance. No one asked me to the dance, Meg said. She lied about that night so many times now she could do it easily. I was homesick with the flu that night. Yeah, the heartbreak flu. She'd stayed home all night pretending to be sick while she wrote pages and pages of emo angst-filled crap in her diary. Promise? Meg forced a smile. Yet another promise she couldn't keep. Minnie, I promise. I'm not interested in TJ Fletcher. Pinky swear. Meg held her pinky out to Minnie, who stared at it for half a second as if deciding whether or not she wanted to let her jerkiness go. Then with characteristic impulsiveness, Minnie threw her arms around Meg's neck and kissed her on the cheek. I'm sorry, she said, then sighed. I guess I just freaked a little when I saw him. I know. Between that and you leaving me, Meg shook her head. Minz, I'm not leaving you, but you're leaving. That that was it, plain and simple. Meg was leaving. In 7 months she'd be starting a new life in LA, and as much as she tried to pretend in front of Minnie that wasn't what was happening, they both knew it was true. It's not like I'm going to Europe or something, Meg said. You might as well be. Minnie stuck out her lower lip in her patented pout. It was a mood that made boys sweat. You're going to find a new best friend and forget all about me. A, that's not going to happen. B, that's not going to happen. Promise? Yes, Minnie. And you're not into Tej? Didn't you just pinky swear? Minnie hugged her for a second, then broke away. Because if you were interested, Minnie, if you were, she continued with a smirk, I'd have to warn you, that boy has the biggest mins. Meg plugged her ears with both index fingers. She did not want to hear a first-hand account of T-Joy's boy parts, especially not from Minnie. It was bad enough to know that Minnie and TJ had drunkenly hooked up at a party. Worse hearing a replay of it. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Minnie flopped on her bed in a paroxysm of laughter. I just meant, she gasped, for your first time you might want. I'm not listening. Minnie rolled onto her back and laughed even harder, and despite herself, Meg joined in. She fell backward on her own bed, and the two friends giggled like kids until the tension and fatigue of the day had completely drained out of them. It was moments like this one that reminded Meg of why she loved Minnie so much. Their lives had grown in different their lives had grown in different directions, but deep down they were still two goofy 12-year-olds who laughed at the same stupid jokes, protected each other, and were totally, utterly inseparable. As they calmed down, Minnie reached out to Meg. I'm sorry. Meg squeezed her friend's hand. I know. Friends still? Always. Good. Minnie rolled off the bed and smoothed her skirt. Let's go downstairs. I'm freaking starved. Chapter 6. Laughter drifted up the stairwell as Minnie and Meg wound their way down to the ground floor. They followed the hallway to the back of the house and found themselves in a spacious family room, amply furnished with overstuffed couches and easy chairs. The walls were lined with bookcases and an enormous 50-inch plasma television mounted above a wood-burning fireplace. Television mounted The walls were lined with bookcases and an enormous 50-inch plasma television mounted above a wood-burning fireplace was lit up with the latest zombie massacre alien invasion first-person shooter apocalypse video game. Two guys sat on opposite sofas, controllers in hand, eyes fixed on the game. One looked like your average skinny shredder who spent mom and dad's money most weekends up at Whistler, tight thermal shirt, baggy jeans, and long stringy hair. He kept tossing out of his eyes with a violent flip of his head. The other was a big Samoan dude, really big, like linebacker in the NFL big. As they entered the room, the skinny guy caught sight of them out of the corner of his eye. He did a double take, then paused the game. Ladies, he said, welcome to paradise. If paradise was two dudes playing video games in the middle of nowhere, Meg was going to take a big old Pasadena on that. Minnie placed a slender hand on her hip. Does paradise come with a paradise come with a beer keg? Bottles, the skinny guy said, standing up. He reached a hand up under his Hollister t-shirt and scratched his belly as his eyes traveled from Minnie to Meg. Can I get you one? She doesn't drink, Minnie said. Too bad. He continued to stare at Meg, then a slight smile stole across his face. Does she talk? Meg narrowed her eyes. As much as she hated being on the spot in front of strangers, she didn't like the way this guy was looking. Meg narrowed her eyes. As much as she hated being on the spot in front of strangers, she didn't like the way this guy was looking at her. When I need to. Ooh, he said, wiggling his fingers. A sassy brunette. Papa likes. You. NFL linebacker uh, kicked the sofa on which his friend had been sitting. Kicked the sofa on which his friend had been sitting. Dude, finish the dang game. Fine, fine, he said, resuming his seat. He continued to smile at Meg. More later. Minnie grabbed Meg's hand. Come on. She led Meg through the L-shaped room to where the rest of the guests were gathered in the enormous stainless steel kitchen that ran along the north side of the house. Gunner and Magenta Hair were dancing to an electro-metal track, track blaring from a set of iPod speakers on the counter. Their bodies were pressed tightly together, and Magenta Hair had one hand leisurely draped around Gunner's neck while the other gripped a bottle of Stella. Ben leaned against the far wall, also with beer in hand, and was Ben leaned against the far wall, also with beer in hand, and was laughing with a tall, angular Asian girl whose limbs seemed too long for her body. The Stepford Wives-y-looking brunette with a sensible bob and sensible pink jay. Crew cardigan buttoned up to her neck, stood on tiptoe, examining the contents of the kitchen cupboards. TJ sat on a bar stool at the island in the middle of the room. He jumped to his feet as soon as they entered. Hi. 5 heads all turned in their direction with the exception of Gunner, who stared intently at the spot on the refrigerator. You get settled in okay? Ben asked. He walked across to the iPod dock and dialed down the volume. Meg noticed his eyes never even rested on her, just went straight to Minnie. Yep, Minnie said, matching his smile. The room is gorge. Meg hid a grin. TJ touched her elbow. You need a drink? Nope, Meg started. I'd love one. Minnie made a beeline for the fridge and yanked it open so fiercely the bottles of condiments on the door rattled against one another. She took a cursory glance at the interior and crinkled her nose. Where's the beer? Here we go. Minnie, why don't you wait till we get some food first? No thanks, Mom, Minnie said with a sly smile. I can handle it. I'll grab you one. Ben dashed out the kitchen door to an enclosed patio. Meg heard the slight suction of a fridge door opening. Then Ben reappeared, practically falling over himself to hand Minnie her beer. As he popped the cap for her, Minnie dropped her eyes and batted her mascared eyelashes in a display of false demureness that would have made a southern debutante proud. Then she grabbed the beer from his outstretched hand and chugged it like a frat boy. Classy. The girl with the sensible bob opened the fridge and rearranged the bottles Minnie had knocked askew, then bent down and opened a drawer. Did anyone see any cucumbers in here? Magenta Hair snorted. What do you need cucumbers for? We've got a house full of dudes. Minnie and Ben burst out laughing, but sensible Bob continued to search through the fridge. They're for the salad, she said, clearly not getting the joke. Of course they are, Minnie said. She reached out her finger and poked Ben in the stomach. Magenta Hair leaned into Gunner. So that's your ex? She said in a poorly disguised whisper. Minnie paused mid-sip. Yeah, I'm in the room. Meg flinched. Minnie hadn't even finished one beer and she was already primed for a fight. Gunner sounded stumped, like the simple question of whether or not Minnie was his ex-girlfriend confounded him. Yeah, but it's totally over. Totally, Minnie confirmed. She reached out and traced her fingers down Ben's lanky arm as if to emphasize the point. He's all yours if that's what you're into. Magenta Hair straightened up. What the F? I'm Meg. She dashed forward, intercepting Magenta Hair before she crossed the room and pummeled Minnie's face with her bare hands. Minnie and I are at Kamaic with Gunner. Meg glanced at Gunner, who was turning bright red, as you probably already knew. Magenta hair eyed Meg's hand for a few seconds, then tentatively stuck out her own. Kimiko, I met Roosevelt in Seattle. She pointed to Sensible Bob. That's Viv. Sensible Bob closed the cupboard with a bang. Vivian, she said sharply. Right, Kimiko said with a smirk. Sorry. Vivian ignored her. I'm a junior. I'm a junior at Mariner. Mariner, Minnie said. That's that's where they found that body in the locker room. Vivian winced. Yeah. Had they identified the body yet? Meg asked. The idea of someone's family not knowing that their kid was dead really bothered her. Not yet, the tall Asian girl said. When we left on the ferry, no one had been reported missing. We should probably check the news later for an update. TJ placed his hand on the small of Meg's back. That's Lori, he said quietly. Scary crap, Kimiko said. Vivian placed a stack of nesting bowls on the counter. I know. I hope they won't suspend classes on Tuesday. Really? She was worried about missing classes after someone was murdered on her school campus? I'm sure we'll have class on Tuesday, Ben said. He rubbed Minnie's back. Vivian spun around. You go to Murneer? Yep. Really? Really, Lori said. Really, Lori said. Haven't you seen him around? Vivian's eyes grew wide. Wait, do you go to Murneer too? Ben laughed. Yeah, where have you been? Lori was the soloist in the spring choir concert last year. He smiled at her. You were awesome, by the way. Lori's face lit up. Thanks. Really? Vivian seemed totally unconvinced that two people could go to her school and she didn't know them. Kamiko leaned on the counter. Do you think they're lying about where they go to school? Did I say that? Kinda, Meg blurted out. TJ laughed. Well, Lori said softly, we're not on debate team, so you might not have noticed us. Vivian waved her hand dismissively toward the living room. I know those two guys, and they're not on the debate team. The skinny guy came charging through the kitchen. Which two guys? He didn't pause, but made a beeline for the beer cooler on the patio. His large friend sauntered into the kitchen without a word. That's Nathan, TJ said, then nodded toward the NFL linebacker. And this is Kenny. Nathan reappeared, two beer bottles gripped in each hand, and smiled broadly at Meg. What's up, babe? W. Meg felt TJ stiffen. This is Meg. Nathan moved his beer-laden hand up and down, mimicking a handshake. We've met. Then he elbowed TJ in the arm. I'm digging the chicks to two dudes ratio here. Chicks? Really? Meg bit her tongue. Don't call him a douchebag. Don't call him a douchebag. Do you think it'll get even better when Jessica shows up with half the cheerleading squad? Nathan continued. Meg goes to Kamiak with me, TJ said, ignoring the question. Was it Meg's imagination, or did he emphasize the last two words? Nathan backed up a few steps. I dig it. Meg wasn't sure if he meant her or chicks in general, but shockingly, Nathan didn't elaborate. Dudes, he said, tossing a beer to Kenny. What is this? A library? This is supposed to be a party. Let's rock this. He bounded over to the speakers and turned them up as he chugged down half his beer. Then he grabbed Vivian around the waist and started to freak her like a dog in heat. Stop it, Vivian shrieked. She looked mortified, but at the same time, she wasn't trying very hard to get Nathan off of her. Come on, sexy mama, he said in a fake pimp voice. Don't you want to rip those pearls off and get wild? Meg couldn't help but laugh at the idea of the douchey Nathan and the prim Vivian as a couple. It was so ridiculous she couldn't have put it in one of her stories for fear of it seeming too unbelievable. Gunnar and Kamiko joined in the dancing as Kenny made his way silently across the kitchen toward Lori. He whispered something in her ear, and she blushed from chin to hairline. Meanwhile, Minnie and Ben had disappeared completely out onto the patio. Uh-oh, you okay? TJ asked. Meg craned her head to see if she could get a glimpse of what Minnie was up to. Yeah, totally. Having fun. Sure, she lied. Having fun? Sure, she lied. You know, you know people watching? TJ flashed his dimply smile. Riker? Vivian finally managed to extract herself from Nathan. Jerk, she said. How did I end up at a party with you? But Meg noticed her eyes were laughing. Same as the rest of us, Lori said. You don't turn down an invite from Jessica Lawrence. Nathan leaned against the island, panting, and cracked another beer. You loved it. Vivian ignored him. She yanked the fridge door open and eyed Meg. You know how to cook? Meg bit her lip. It was a well-known fact in the Pritchard household that Meg should never be allowed in the kitchen. Her involvement in family dinners usually ended in botulism or a fire extinguisher. Not really. Vivian grabbed 2 bags of lettuce out of the fridge and tossed them on the counter. Okay, you can do the salad. Gee, thanks. Okay, so we read chapters 5 and 6 there, and that's all I really have time for tonight. My grandma is in the hospital, so I have to go now. You all have a good night, and God bless.